Hello everybody, and welcome to another video of Grim Dawn Ashes of Malmouth. So I know it's long overdue, but I'm finally updating the Death Knight for everybody. The only reason this took some time was because I was hoping to find certain items before I released this final build. So keep in mind I'm not quite there yet, but I have been getting a lot of requests for this, so I figured I might as well do this to show you guys where he's at. I'm doing everything comfortably, there's no issues at all really. It's just that it was more of a personal preference and I wanted to fine tune it before I did this video. But as I said, it's taking longer than expected. So let's go over skills real quick, guys. I'll go over the items, and then we'll go over devotion. This shouldn't take too long. The biggest changes with this are that I put 1 point in Zolon's technique, maxed out Blitz, Blindside is at 12 out of 12. I did push Cadence as high as I could take it, and then I capped out Deadly Momentum. I believe that was the same in my last video, so that's not really a huge change. But the major one being the Blitz. Another one being that I put a lot of one-pointers here. Obviously, with all the plus to skills, this enables you to put the one-pointers. You know, you're getting rank 4 or 5, 6, stuff like that, you know, based on your gear for 1 point, and that's totally going to be worth it. Definitely max out military conditioning, field command. Overguard 12 out of 12 is just fine. Don't really need to go higher than that. And then you do want the Markovian's defense for the cooldown, which is really nice. Max out Scars of Battle. The armor absorption on that is really, really good. Mash out Maynard's Bulwark, that's going to be one of your best abilities, obviously, for this setup. 1 point Counter-Strike. So that's all that, pretty much. On the Necromancer side, I still have 1 point in Reaping Strike. Even, like I said, even at 1 point, even if this wasn't at rank 3, 1 point is still pretty strong for this skill. It's a pretty good nuke ability, and it also heals you when it procs, which is really nice. Max out Siphon Souls with the Aether modifier. Max out Spectral Binding. This is very, very good for this setup. This is a huge must. Obviously, you're getting that huge Aether damage increase on this. You're getting the health and the OA. Huge chunk of health. Massive. And then Spectral Wrath, obviously, is very important for dropping enemy resist, doing return damage stuff. Very nice. And then Mark of Torment 1 point. Okay, so let's go over the items real quick. There's a few things to mention here. There's nothing that I'm using 100% of the time, if that kind of makes sense. So for just in general clearing and DPSing, like farming on this build, I typically run Mythical Will of the Living. Even though I do like this shield a lot, the pros to this shield are obviously the damage. Another pro is the energy, so it helps manage the mana a lot better, lets me farm without using as many mana potions, which is super good. The decent resist on that, the cooldown helps a lot, +1 skills and Necromancer, those are all the pros, obviously. The cons with this shield is that I actually am at only 71 chaos resistance. I'm not fully capped on all resistances. But, I mean, there's nothing that I run into that really gives me a problem when I'm just in general farming, so it's not a big deal. So another alternative to this is the Mythical Markovian's Bulwark. So when I use this, you can see my resistances are well overcapped. The 2 set bonus with this and the Amulet gives me the Aether and Chaos resist by 32%. The amulet itself is really nice, it's not bad at all. And then the shield itself is actually really good. So this is kind of the opposite. I don't have as much mana with this shield. I still get offensive capabilities out of this. Even my OA is higher with this setup. But as you can see, 1381 health plus 5% health increase, that's massive. So my health goes way up with this setup. I do get the additional chaos resist on this, so obviously chaos is not an issue. Majorly over cap on Pierce, which is nice. You can see my Pierce is 87 because that does boost the maximum Pierce resistance. Get 3 to field command, which is also really nice. So you can see my field command goes way up. So I'm actually gaining more OA and DA there and armor. So like I said, there's pros and cons to each. And then what's really cool about this is, so something to keep in mind is that when you pop Overguard with this shield, you actually get a flat physical damage application, so you do just more damage on your autos and attacks and whatnot, so then you're also getting 200% increased physical damage. So the modifier for Overguard actually drops your total damage by 18%. So yeah, you do lose damage when you pop Overguard, but the nice thing about this shield is that you're getting damage back too, so it's kind of cool. That's one thing that's really nice about this setup. So typically I'll run this shield when I'm doing harder, more difficult bosses, and yeah, this is typically the setup I use. So the amulet that I'm looking for to finalize this build, I believe it's called the Conduit of War, um, something along the lines of that. But it's basically a amulet that does +1 skills to soldier. And right now I'm using a belt that does that, and this is a highly offensive belt. I mean, this is not at all designed to be durable or tanky. It's way more for offense and dealing damage. And I'll talk about that more here in a second. So the other option I have is this shield here. This is ideally the kind of shield that we're looking for, right? So you want to use the colossal like shields or the ethereal vanguard shields or whatever you call them, which I showed you before. You can go to the vendor and just farm those. Just keep looking, keep looking. You'll eventually find one that fits your needs. But obviously this one fits a major portion of my needs with that 59 chaos resistance. So this shield, the reason why this shield is so important is because it's guaranteed to have the 2 to spectral binding, 2 to overguard, and then the -2 second skill recharge to overguard, right? So this basically lets you have your overguard up more often. That's why this one is really important. And the thing is you get +2 to overguard too. So if I wanted to, I could even come in here and drop 2 points out of overguard and put them elsewhere, right? Because you really don't need to go over 12 on this. So that's another pro about this shield. But like I said, I typically don't use this one right now because I'm not semi-finalized build yet. So I have it here just in case. It's basically one of the best ones I've found, and Chaos is very lacking, so that's why I did pick that one up. You can see that energy when you put that Will of Living on. It just shoots way up. Alright guys, so now that I've covered the shields, I do want to talk about the future of this build and where we'll be going. So, like I was saying earlier, if I can manage to get that amulet that gives me 1 skills to soldier, right now my belt's supplying that. So if I can manage to get the amulet, I'm looking at 2 belts right now. These are some of the best belts that I've found as far as greens go. The first belt here gives you the crit damage, Aether, health, OA, DA, energy regen, Aether chaos resist. Obviously, these stats can change. I mean, they can fit your needs, what you might need on the character at the time, so on and so forth. So this just covered a lot of categories that were pretty vital for my Death Knight. So that's why I was like, okay, I'll hang on to this. So the crit damage is obviously decent, stacks with this build. Aether is obviously good for damage. The health is really good. OADA is really good. Energy regeneration, I was thinking actually might be pretty good because sometimes this build does struggle with mana, and extra energy regeneration probably wouldn't be bad. And then the Aether Chaos resist on that. Clearly that's, like I said, that's some of the hardest resist to stack in the game. Aether Chaos, you can see mine's a little lacking with this setup, but that will help cover that, right? So second belt option here is that this one actually does do Vitality, Flat Vitality. Now, we don't stack Vitality damage on this build, but we do Vitality damage on this build a little bit, and it's not like a primary damage, but it still is damage we're getting, right? So it's not too bad. Obviously, the Aether damage on that. So here's what's interesting about this build right here. 6% of attack damage converted to health. That's actually really crazy. I mean, that could potentially be an awesome belt, right? So we get the OADA. And then again on this, the Chaos Resist. So I hung on to this belt because I was like, wow, that actually might be pretty good later on. If I can get Lifesteal on the ring, Lifesteal on the belt, so on and so forth, life skill through the other skills that I'm using, like, this might be able to make you just face tank survive a lot of things in the game. Alright, so I'm going to kind of skim over some of the gear. Real quick, I do want to mention, I'm using this ring still, Mythical Life Giver Signet. It's not the ideal ring that you want to be using, but ideally I want to find a green ring that has 2 Decadence, if possible, Lifesteal, and obviously OADA, Aether damage. So there's going to be like the main things you want to look for on a green ring. But having that said, I'm going to skim over some of the stuff that's changed. So I'm using the Mythical Band of Eternal Haunt. This is clearly for the reason to drop enemy Aether resistance. So I'm just going to skim over everything that I'm using. You can pause the video and check out the components, augments, all that stuff. Imbued silver on that, obviously, like I said earlier, for the Chaos Resist. Mythical Mark of Anathema. So this is basically your in-game medal here. That's a really nice one. I can actually craft those now. Alright, so I'm using Imp Eye Powder in the offhand, and obviously that's for damage. Ideally, I want Ravager's Eye in my main hand and offhand for the percent health and defensive ability. But since, like I said, this is my typical generic like farming build, I take the Imp Eye Powder on that for more damage. Alright, so let's skim over Devotion real quick. So this frog here, I forgot to show in one of my Death Knight videos, and everybody was like, how are you doing your devotions? So don't forget the frog. As you can see here, you're getting 3% of your attack damage converted to health, so that's really useful. Still using Chariot. Everything's basically the same. There's no difference here at all. Devotions are exactly the same as they were previously. Alright. So how about we get into some gameplay? Let's go try to find a nemesis. Let's do that. So there you have it, guys. This character is really durable. It's doing really well. Even during that fight, I only used Overguard once, maybe twice. And it wasn't even a necessity, it's just that it does give you crazy health regen and all that stuff. So it's a very good build. I'm enjoying it. It's super good for doing stuff like this, specifically hunting down Nemesis bosses real fast. And so that's one of the pros to it. As an extra little bonus, I wanted to go over like some skill combos with this character. So let's say you wanted to maximize AoE DPS in a group. You would not want to initially charge in with Blitz. Because Blitz does reset your cooldown because it's set on time dilation. Ideally what you'd want to do, you could do it in any order, it doesn't have to be a specific order. But you could do Krieg's Wrath, and then you could also do Siphon Souls, and then a Blitz into something. It would reset these two cooldowns, and then you could do Krieg's Wrath, Siphon Souls, and then Blitz again, back to back. So keep that in mind. You can do a lot of cool combos with this. You can see you can do the AoE, Krieg's Wrath, Blitz, and it'll reset those cooldowns, and then you can do it again, boom, boom, and then Blitz. But as you can see, you can maximize certain types of damage, for groups that you're fighting. So if it's like a massive group of monsters, you can maximize your AoE DPS and tear through things pretty fast. Anyway, just an extra little bonus that I wanted to throw out there. And maybe in the future I'll do more in-depth details about skill order and how you should rotate skills and stuff, because I think that's pretty important in this game too, and it's something that could be very helpful. And it goes as far as, for example, rotating Overguard properly, rotating Mark of Torment properly, rotating Minier's Bastion properly. You don't want to double up on these. So if you're fighting a boss and you do Overguard, Minier's Bastion, and Mark of Torment like all at the same time, you've basically just deleted all of your possibility of survivability for the next X amount of seconds or whatever. So you don't want to necessarily just spam skills, even though it may look like that sometimes. Anyways, appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to watch my content as always. If you guys have not subscribed, please do. It helps me out. I'm actually getting close to 2,000 subscribers again, and that'd be great. You know, it'd be fantastic if you guys like the content. Please like it. It helps me out as well. Helps me and promotes what I do, so supports what I do. I really appreciate it. In the future, I probably will be adding different games to the channel, just as a heads up to you guys. Not that I will ever give up on Grim Dawn, most likely, but I'm a huge fan of ARPGs. So, just wanted to throw that out there. Just keep that in mind. I probably will play different games over time, so don't be upset if I do, please. Alright, guys. As always, appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and you guys take care.